This week, the Carolina Hogs were back with their new roster, and Collin Johns made his debut in Challenger League. We find out what punishment Jessie, Irvine, and Genie Bouchard faced for their behavior in San Clemente, as well as 4 teams that clinched playoff berths. I'll announce the winners from last week's Stop Alzheimer's Now giveaway, and why I think Travis Rettenmeyer should be imprisoned for what he's done. This week, one subscriber or follower that leaves a comment is going to win a pair of Squares pickleball shoes. If you don't know, Squares features a square toe box, which allows your toes to move freely within your shoe, and I helped design them a shoe just for pickleball. So subscribe and comment for a chance to win. One winner is going to be selected on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. The APP was in Newport Beach this weekend, and it was riddled with upsets. After beating Ben Johns, myself, and Noe Cleef, Rafa Leonard failed to make it out of qualifiers, which I think really speaks to the overall depth of men's singles. Armand Bhatia was given the number 4 seed, despite being ranked number 13 in the APP, which makes 2 events in a row where he was given preferential seeding. Obviously, he deserves to be seated in the top 4, and he proved this by upsetting Chris Hayworth yet again and winning the title, but the APP doesn't appear to be following their own seeding rules. Patrick Kaka and Kyle Kazuda upset Will Howells and Jack Monroe before losing to Tanner Tomasi and Richard Liverneese in the final. Max Manthau and Christine Maddox won their first title over Casey Diamond and Sophia Sewing, and the Aussie team of Danny Townsend and Amelia Schmidt almost took down Jill Braverman and Megan Fudge in the women's doubles final. Finally, Katarina Stewart won her first APP title over Bobby Ashiro in a wild week in Newport Beach. The PPA was also in Malaysia, which seemed to be a pretty cool event, but I honestly couldn't find a ton of information out about it. Yufei Long won the women's singles, and Jamie Wei and her partner won the women's doubles. If you recall, that pairing had a nice run at the San Clemente PPA event a couple weeks ago, beating Lacey Schneeman and Georgia Johnson. Finally, MLP was in New York City and gave us plenty of stuff to talk about, but before the event even started, we had a couple of interesting things happen. First, Eric Roddy was traded from the Bay Area Breakers to the Atlanta Bouncers for Sam Querrey. Bay Area immediately put Sam Querrey on the injured reserve, then picked up Collin Johns from waivers, meaning that Collin Johns is back in Major League Pickleball again. Next, it was announced that Genie Bouchard and Jessie Irvine would forfeit their pay for the matches that they didn't play, which feels to me like we're kind of treating them with kitty gloves. Forfeiture of pay for matches not played feels like an absolute bare minimum starting point to me, especially when you compare it to Kwang Dong or Wang Yun, who was fined $50,000 for just playing events in his home country. However, if Genie truly is being paid $1.5 million per year like Connor mentioned on the podcast last week, maybe the pay forfeiture hurts her a little bit more than we know. Anyway, play started Thursday with the Sliders, who were without Paris Todd, sweeping the hometown Hustlers, and the Squeeze swept the Miami Pickleball Club, who were without Jay DeVilliers. Congrats to Jay and Alexandra on their 4th child and their very first girl. On Friday, we had pickleball on the 4th of July. With Jay out, Yuta Funemizu stepped in and became the first Japanese-born player to win an MLP match. I'm going to try and get Yuta to come on and talk to me on the podcast, so if you have any questions for him, leave them in a comment down below, and you'll also automatically be entered to win into the Squares giveaway. Yuta is known as an incredibly nice guy with a really extreme grip and a unique play style, so he was very fun to watch this entire weekend. Miami ended up sweeping New York in this match. Next up on Friday was the debut of the Carolina Hogs team. They recently dropped Collin Johns and picked up Roscoe Bellamy, and then traded away Caitlin Christian for Etta Wright. Etta and Tammy won their women's match. Ben and Roscoe lost their men's. Then the Hogs took out both mixed matches to win 3-1 in regulation, beating the Squeeze, who are comfortably in the playoff picture. And this was huge for Carolina, and if they can sustain it, the new roster probably makes them into a playoff team ahead of the Black Diamonds and the Miami Pickleball Club. Brooklyn won a very close 3-1 match over Miami, which brought us to a bizarre situation occurring in the last match of the day between the Hustlers and the Sliders. The Hustlers down 2-0, and they were down 6-0 in the first mix when Donald Young pulled out of the match due to a shoulder problem, and we were left with Corey, the GM of the Hustlers, seemingly like looking around the crowd for anybody that could like actually play, and they found hometown boy Eric Forsyth to fill in. Eric was, however, an improved on-site alternate, and he signed a 1-contract event with UPA. He was able to warm up for like 3 minutes and got thrown into the fire. The Hustlers ended up being swept, but that was not a good look. Saturday wasn't too eventful. The Sliders pulled off an impressive sweep of the Hogs. The Squeeze beat the Hustlers in regulations. The Hogs beat Miami in regulations, which is huge for their playoff hopes, and Brooklyn beat the Squeeze in regulation. On Sunday, the Hogs swept the Hustlers. Columbus beat Miami. The Sliders swept the Squeeze. Brooklyn swept the Hustlers, and Brooklyn also beat the Hogs 22-20 in a Dreambreaker. Although they lost Caitlin, adding Roscoe really helps the Hogs. A, I think it helps their morale, and then B, it helps their Dreambreaker lineup. The Shock, Flash, Brooklyn Pickleball team, and Columbus Sliders all clinched playoff spots because of this weekend's results. Brooklyn and Columbus had good weekends, but are still behind us in points per match. The Hogs move into 12th, and it's a pretty safe assumption that they'll end up ahead of Utah, Chicago, and Miami to limp into the playoffs. Collin Johns had a good week with the Bay Area Breakers and Challenger, helping them to several wins, including a win in regulation over the first place Las Vegas Night Owls. The Smash stay in last place, right where they belong. And anybody that plays pickleball in the airport deserves whatever bad they get. In fact, I think that pickleball in the airport should be a felony and they should be placed on the no-fly list. Travis, this is embarrassing, dude. This is the reason why pickleball don't take pickleball seriously. If you agree, please sign the petition by subscribing to my YouTube channel. Anyways, next weekend is the mid-season tournament at the Beer City Open, and we're actually the reigning champs of that one. Other than the playoffs, this is the only event with actual prize money throughout the regular season. $100,000 is up for grabs, as well as 6 additional standing points for the winners, 4 for second and 2 for third, which is definitely going to shake up the standings. So make sure to check that one out. And congrats to Carlos Mancilla 4266 on TikTok, Ralph 7077 on YouTube, and Melanie Walks 23 on Instagram for winning the Stop Alzheimer's Now giveaway from last week's video. And once again, if you'd like to win a pair of square shoes that I helped to design, leave a comment and subscribe. Winners are going to be announced in the next recap video on Monday.